The tropical sun beat down on the West Philippine Sea, but the waters were far from calm. On the bridge of the BRP Andres Bonifacio, Captain Reyes watched as two massive Chinese Coast Guard cutters closed in, their horns blaring a warning. The Filipino crew stood their ground, determined to defend their own waters. The Chinese ships maneuvered aggressively, cutting across the bow and rocking the smaller vessel, a clear act of intimidation. Radio channels crackled with warnings, claiming the area as Chinese territory. For the Filipino sailors, this was a daily risk: collision, ramming, or worse. This was not just about fishing rights. It was a direct challenge to Philippine sovereignty. Suddenly, a third ship appeared on the horizon, the USS John Finn, an American destroyer. The U.S. warship made no aggressive moves, but its presence sent a powerful message of support. The standoff was a snapshot of a larger struggle: China's ambitions clashing with the rights of its neighbors and U.S. interests. The West Philippine Sea has become one of the world's most dangerous flashpoints. Here, the future of international law, freedom of navigation, and the balance of power are at stake. The world is watching, holding its breath. The tension on these waters is a warning to all. The next move could change everything. The BRP Andres Bonifacio's mission was urgent: map the seabed at Reed Bank, searching for oil and gas. With the Malampaya gas field running dry, the Philippines faces looming energy shortages. The West Philippine Sea's untapped reserves could transform the nation's future, powering homes and industries and lifting millions from poverty. For the crew, every sonar pulse was a step toward self-reliance. But China's Coast Guard and maritime militia relentlessly blocked Philippine efforts, claiming the area as their own. The mission was a test of will. Could international law prevail over brute force? The Philippines' quest for energy independence is a direct challenge to Beijing's sweeping claims. The stakes are national security, prosperity, and the right to determine their own future. The world's eyes are on this struggle for resources and sovereignty. The outcome will shape the region for decades. The USS John Finn's arrival was no accident. It was part of a U.S. strategy to deter aggression and uphold freedom of navigation. The destroyer's silent presence reassured the Filipino crew. They were not alone. The U.S. Navy's 7th Fleet maintains a constant watch in the Indo-Pacific, signaling unwavering support for allies. American surveillance aircraft track Chinese movements, sharing intelligence with the Philippines to level the playing field. Every U.S. move is calculated to deter, not provoke, and to keep the door open for diplomacy. The presence of a U.S. warship raises the stakes for China, making any aggression a global risk. This is modern deterrence, a high-stakes game where a single ship's safety is tied to regional stability. The U.S. commitment is clear, but the balance is delicate. The world's most powerful navies are locked in a tense standoff. The next incident could have far-reaching consequences. The West Philippine Sea is a battleground for gray zone tactics, hostile actions just short of war. China uses Coast Guard and militia vessels to harass and block its neighbors, hoping to wear down their resolve. The psychological and economic toll is immense, as every voyage becomes a test of courage. The conflict has drawn in global powers, with Europe, Japan, and Australia joining U.S. patrols to uphold international law. The stakes are clear: rule of law versus rule of force. The outcome will shape the world order for generations. The West Philippine Sea is a vital artery for global trade. 1/3 of all shipping passes through these waters. Any disruption would send shockwaves through the world economy. For Southeast Asia, the sea is also a source of food and livelihood, now threatened by overfishing and environmental damage. Beneath the waves lie vast reserves of oil and gas, a prize that fuels the competition. Control of these waters means economic and strategic power. The U.S., with no territorial claims, is determined to keep the sea open and governed by law. Freedom of navigation is essential for global stability. The fate of these waters affects us all. At the heart of the conflict is a clash of claims. China's 9-line covers nearly 90% of the South China Sea, but has no basis in international law. The UN Convention on the Law of the Sea grants the Philippines an exclusive economic zone, rights affirmed by a 2016 international tribunal. China rejected the ruling and has built military outposts to enforce its claims. The Philippines has the law on its side, but China has the power on the water. The standoff is between a legally backed ruling and a superpower's might. The world must decide, will law or force prevail? The answer will define the region's future. Beneath the West Philippine Sea lies a fortune in oil and gas, enough to transform economies. The Reed Bank alone could hold billions of barrels of oil and trillions of cubic feet of gas. For the Philippines, developing these resources means energy security and prosperity. For China, it's about reducing dependence on foreign energy and securing its growth. The competition has drawn interest from global energy giants, but political risk keeps investment at bay. China insists on joint development, on its terms. The promise of prosperity remains locked away, hostage to the standoff above. Unlocking this treasure requires more than technology. It demands a resolution to the conflict. Facing mounting pressure, the Philippines has turned to its oldest ally, the United States. The 1951 Mutual Defense Treaty commits both nations to defend each other in case of attack. Washington has made clear any armed attack on Philippine forces in the South China Sea will trigger U.S. commitments. The U.S. is bolstering its military presence, gaining access to key Philippine bases, and pre-positioning equipment for rapid response. Joint military exercises, like Balikatan, now simulate real-world scenarios, defending islands, repelling maritime threats, and involving allies like Australia and Japan. The alliance goes beyond hardware intelligence sharing, training, and support for Philippine military modernization are deepening. The U.S. is helping the Philippines build a credible defense, providing new patrol vessels, aircraft, and coastal systems. The message is clear. The U.S. stands with the Philippines, but also wants it to stand stronger on its own. The partnership is evolving, dynamic, resilient, and ready for new challenges. This united front sends a strong signal to Beijing. The stakes are not just regional, but global. The alliance is a pillar of stability in a volatile region. The world is watching how far this commitment will go. The West Philippine Sea is balanced on a knife's edge. U.S. naval presence deters conflict, but also raises the risk of miscalculation. A single incident could escalate into a crisis with global consequences. For the Philippines, the stakes are existential sovereignty, security, and the right to its own resources. The promise of prosperity could be lost to conflict. This is a defining moment, a test of resolve for the Filipino people and for all nations that believe in a rules-based order. The world faces a choice: uphold law, or let might make right. The silent standoff at sea is more than a headline. It's the front line of a struggle for the future of global order. The next chapter depends on what happens here.